All right, we are back. We are back with another amazing entrepreneur, female entrepreneur, as well as that, who runs an amazing show called Think Opposite. And I have to tell you, Allison, I have enjoyed some of the opposite episodes you've had on. I've been binging some of the most recent ones and enjoying it and cracking up and loving what you're pulling out of your guest hosts on, or your guests on the show. For those that don't know, Alison Donaghey, did I pronounce that correctly? Donaghey, okay, is a powerful, dynamic speaker who challenges her audience to think about what they think about. She's been featured speaker for the Power Her Talks speaker series, offering her unique perspective on business and life. She continues to move audiences nationwide with her real talk and direct approach, which is what I love the most. Allison's innate talent for challenging the status quo is exactly what gave birth to her brand, Domino Thinking. Her philosophy is that we all have a significant responsibility to ourselves and society as a whole to examine our beliefs, opinions, and positions in order to understand their ramifications. After hearing one of Allison's fiery speeches, audience members often respond with, "Wow, I never thought of it that way." In today's busy world, we are constantly inundated with information. It is only natural to fall back on familiar patterns of thinking. Allison's wide worldview offers her listeners new ways of thinking so they can successfully maneuver through life with the tools and confidence to create better outcomes for themselves, their families, and community. In addition to speaking, Allison runs a successful painting company called Showshine Girls Painting and continues to share her uncommon thoughts with others as host of the Natural Born Speakers radio show. So without further ado, the host of the Think Opposite podcast. Okay, come on, I'm hitting too many buttons. There she is.
There I am.
What is going on? Da-da-da. Hang on here.
Oh, I like the sound effects.
Yeah, little sound effect here. Got some good stuff there. Got some money thinking there. Hey, great to have you this afternoon.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. And I'm just so thrilled that you're doing something like this. Podcasting is just such an important way for people to connect. And I really love that you're doing it.
Well, hey, thanks so much. It's easy when we got 30 plus people that all have a big heart, want to share and help us all achieve new levels of success across the board. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
So, Allison, why don't you share a little bit about Domino, your company, Domino Thinking, and then Think Opposite as well. Why don't you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, Domino Thinking sort of came about because I was talking to somebody and it was just like, well, where are our thoughts going? And we don't spend any time actually thinking if I choose A, B, C, and D are going to happen. We just hope for the best. And I don't blame people. Like, we're busy, we have busy lives, and there's so much information being like tossed at us, and we're like inundated with all of these options and choices and new information. And so we just, I think we just jump to making decisions much faster than we should. And then we have to deal with all of these problems down the road because we didn't think about it enough in the first place. And then from that, develop the think opposite. Like, so sometimes when we can take a thought and turn it around and think the complete opposite, that can sometimes help us understand where our choices are going to lead us. It can show us what our blind spots are. It can show us where we're being irrational. It can show us where we're just being general pain in the asses, and where we're maybe judging people when we shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. And I think there's so much polarization in the world today. Whenever we have an opportunity to stop and consider another perspective, we are just so much better for it.
I think you hit the nail right in the head. I was talking with Steph last night with my spouse about how a lot of times, especially in politics and media, and I like to joke about fake book a little bit. We get so used to wanting to be right about our decisions or our mindset that we really don't consider what our opposite people are going through, or our friends, if they have a different opinion. Why do they have that opinion? And if we take the time to think about that, it can help us build a bridge versus dividing us more. Would you agree with that?
Oh my God, for sure. If somebody disagrees with you, they have legitimate reasons for their beliefs, their life experiences, the people they know, their upbringing, all of that stuff. So if somebody's saying it's black, they've got legit reasons for thinking it's black. You might be saying it's white and you have legit reasons for saying it's white, but that doesn't negate each other's experiences, and we can learn so much from each other. Like, even having this podcast and talking to people, I'm blown away by how much my perspective has changed. And I think about both sides of the coin quite a bit. And I'm not the same person I was when I first started my show.
Okay, so I have to ask, what's been the biggest change mindset for you since you started the show?
Probably the gender thing. I would have to say, you know, earlier this year, I gave a speech about my part and personal accountability. I was sexually assaulted, and I talked about how I needed to understand how I contributed to that in order to heal from that, which is without blame or shame or letting anybody off the hook or giving them permission to do what they did. Like that's a totally different thing. That's not this. And then I started getting contacted by men who wanted to talk about the experiences they had when they were sexually assaulted. And I thought, oh, I never really thought of it like that. Like I kind of joked about Bubba in prison and, you know, those kind of things. But
don't drop the soap kind of stuff, John.
Yeah, but I never really thought about men and how they've been impacted by this, which then led me to think about how are we treating men in general? Mm-hmm. And how, as a woman, have I been taught to treat men? And I am blown away by understanding the other side of it. I have a lot of women who hate me for it. I have men that hate me for it. And
well, you must be doing something right.
I guess so. Yes, I get called all sorts of names. You know, you make it when you get called names, right? Yes. Yeah. And it's, it really gave me a perspective when I didn't even know I was lacking a perspective.
Wow. That is huge. That will definitely kind of shake you up a little bit and get to thinking differently about life and stuff like that, huh?
Yeah. Well, and I'm at that point where it's just now, maybe we don't need to talk about things in terms of gender. Maybe we just need to stop sexual abuse. And maybe we just need to stop domestic violence, because men are as much a victim of it as women are. Maybe not as much, but pretty high. Like it's shocking. And so if we can then start seeing gender as not being the issue, then we can start seeing race as not being an issue. We can start seeing politics as not being the issue, and just have conversations with people.
I love that. That's such a, yeah, let's have conversations. Let's literally sit down, or let's have a conversation face to face. And so many of us, it's just, so many people, and especially a lot of our leaders, stop listening to their constituents, especially as we talk about midterms and things like that. You see a lot of people say they're going to do things, but then when everything's done, it's not happening, right?
Mm-hmm. And then we don't call them on their lies. We just sort of accept that as acceptable because, well, they all lie anyway. Well, that's not okay. And, you know, somebody posted on Facebook the other day about watching the two different, you know, big news channels and saying there was no similarities. I don't think there's a quest for truth anymore. I think there's just a quest for see it my way.
Mm-hmm. Quest for ratings, quest for just identifying with people that see it the same way and being, coming together, that aspect of a tribe of us versus a tribe of we, because I think that's what's always made America great, was the melting pot of so many different personalities and different countries coming together. We're all a land of immigrants for the most part here in the United States. And wait a second, you're not living in the United States.
Canada.
You're in Canada. That's right. I knew that. Yes. But we see that all across the world though too, right?
Mm-hmm. And nobody necessarily belongs anywhere anymore. You know, it's like, well, go back to where you came from. You can't go back to where you came from. Do you know, like we talk about people like in South Africa, the whites go home. Germany won't let them go home. That's their home. This is where they're living. We have to figure out ways of getting along because we are seriously all in this together.
Mm-hmm. That's the truth. What has been the biggest, maybe not surprise, but been the biggest thing that's maybe altered a little bit when you started with your podcast to where you're at now? What are some things that you've learned? Because thinking opposite and making people, bringing up different options of how people can think about something can obviously have some effect. What's been the biggest effect that you've seen with your shows as you've grown as a host over the last episodes?
I think people want to connect more than they're aware of. Like when I start talking about some of these things with people, they want to get into it. They want to start having conversations. If they listen to my show and they contact me, they want to know more. Like I think we're built to want to know more, but society is telling us to stay in these boxes that we're living in. And I think that has been, I thought I'd be have to convince people more to think opposite, but people are now saying to me, hey, I don't think you're thinking opposite about that anymore. And I'm like, oh shit, maybe not. So it's an ongoing process. Like I am by no means the expert in any of these topics that I talk about, but I am really wanting people to just stop and think. That's it. You don't have to change your mind. Sometimes what we believe is what we believe, and that's okay. But if we understand where it's coming from, we understand the other part, then we can have respect for that person in front of us. I think that's the missing piece. And the other thing too is that we're no longer, if we're not trying to convert the person in front of us, we're no longer trying to gain our self-worth from that person. We understand we have inherent self-worth. Like we're born worthy. Like these little tiny sperms find these little tiny eggs and they make us, against all odds, they make us like we're miracles. And by that very nature, we have worth. We don't have to get it from other people. We don't have to convert them to our way. And they're okay their way and we're okay our way, and we can just talk.
Mm-hmm. Let's have a cup of coffee or a pint these days, right?
Tequila works for me.
Careful what you wish for.
Oh my goodness. We had a fair amount of that at the New Media Summit.
Hey, tequila makes the opinions fall off.
That could be my new title for a book or something.
You can use it. Just got to give me credit 3 times, all right? You can use it. Tequila makes the opinions fall off. I love it.
Yes, let's all share a bevy.
But if you think about that, we have a drink or two. We do maybe become a little bit more open-minded. We're listening to other people, become better listeners. Or some of us just get louder and start talking louder when we have to make tequila on there. Stuff like that.
And some people just shouldn't drink the tequila. I mean, like they just shouldn't.
Okay, great stuff. Good stuff out there. What advice would you give to new podcasters out there looking to start their show, or looking to grow their audience? What's the biggest tip that you would give to people that maybe was a surprise to you when you launched as a podcaster?
Stay true to who you are. You know, I think your people will find you. If you're always trying to predict what your guests want to hear, you're not giving them the material that's coming organically from who you are. And who you are is the only person that can deliver your message. And if we get aligned with that, we stay true with that, we will attract the people that resonates with. And we're not going to resonate with everybody, and that's okay. They'll have their people.
Good. That's a good point. We've heard that all throughout the day, which is great. Resonating, but that's a beautiful thing. I think people need to hear that more so, because I think we all get in a habit of judging our success on other successes. You know,
yeah, comparing insides to outsides is a really dangerous thing, and wrong every single time. Wrong.
Mm-hmm. Or comparing our numbers, download numbers, to somebody else's numbers, or our shows to how successful somebody else's. So, like Steve on really talking about how being niche is great to be, especially in today's world of identifying those people that want to hear your voice, like you talked about, right? And don't be afraid to go too wide or try to be everything to everyone. Just like you said, be you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
What's been the biggest aha outside of your podcast, or something that your podcast, doing your podcast on a regular basis and being who you are in your podcast, has led to something outside of your podcast?
Something that I'm doing outside of it. Well, I'm creating a course called My Part, and I didn't see that coming. But the more I'm talking to people about accountability, the more I'm understanding that there isn't actually a process for understanding our accountability. And so that's being developed from that. I'm actually having a lot of fun with it. It gets, I have a friend of mine who is a PhD in spirituality. And I talked to her because she's like, I'm a victim here. This is not my fault. Like, he did this to me. And we got talking through it and understood how she contributed to that scenario. And she was like, whoa, 20 years of spirituality. And all I had to do was understand how I contributed to it. And it's not hard. It's not. And the places that we can take us is so much freedom in it. Empowerment and freedom is huge.
Question for you. What's your background to have that's helped you have such an open mind to thinking opposite?
Well, I was a single mom. I was on welfare. I dated a guy who relapsed into IV drug use, and my whole world turned upside down. I thought I knew things. I didn't. He passed away. I was stuck back on welfare, not knowing what to do, started my business. And that was such a learning curve, being in a house painting company where it's 84% men. I had to learn a lot. And so there's that. I have a criminology diploma. I have a Bachelor of Arts and double minor in psychology and sociology. And I've taught English in Italy. So, I think whenever we can have these new experiences, I travel never enough. Some people say it's extensively, but I don't think so. But when you can go and you can sit in the Delta in Botswana and make baskets with somebody local and hear about their life, there's no better education.
That's so true. And I think we have a more appreciation for what we have, and we travel to other places that aren't as well off as we are, right?
Yeah. Well, and the flip side, like, I know when I first went to a third world country, I found it very difficult to get home. because there was so much we take for granted, and there was so little they had to take for granted, and they were just happier people. And it wasn't happy because they had a house. It wasn't happy because they had the right car, the right woman, the right man, whatever. They were just inherently grateful for the things that they had, the connections that they had. And, it's better than any self-help book, I tell you.
Oh my gosh, yes. About 7 years ago, I sold everything I basically own except my dog and my truck, and spent 3 years traveling. And as I look back on that, it was one of the most uplifting. It was a little scary, obviously, but one of the best things is to get rid of the things that weigh us down.
Yeah.
Before you, long before, the things that you own start to own you, I guess is the saying I've heard said, right?
Mm-hmm. And good for you for doing that. I think everybody should do that once. We get so scared of losing what we have, and yet if we lose it, we don't die. I got rid of everything when my son and I moved to Italy, and it's that same thing. And then accumulating, I didn't have that same need to shop. I still shop, but it's with a different understanding now.
Yeah. What part of Italy did you guys live in?
I lived in Bari, which is the backside of the boot, and nobody goes to Bari except to go to Croatia. I should have read the Lonely Planet guide before taking that job, but there's just so many beautiful things. They're beautiful people, amazing culture, and once these people invite you into their homes and their hearts, you're there forever. I still have students from that far back that stay in touch with me. And I don't even think I was that good of a teacher.
Well, you did something right then.
Yeah, I suppose.
We got some comments on here. Let's see here. Sean Douglas says, "Hey, Allison."
Hey,
Kim says, "Should I be drinking margaritas before I join the live stream later today?"
Oh, yes, always. That's always.
It's Sunday. Come on.
Yes.
It's okay to have an adult beverage. Why not? It's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's the weekend.
It is. And that means being on the West Coast here, I get to start drinking even sooner.
Exactly. Verda Cruz Claw says, "Ciao, Bella. Great to hear you now."
Oh, love him.
There you go. Mm-hmm. And then Holly Mills says, "LLL, let's have a cocktail." That's awesome. Good stuff here.
Always. I'm down.
Let's see here. Bari visited Puglia area in 2012, and you're the second person I met in the last month with a Bari history. Woo woo. That's Elena L. Nieberding.
Wow, that almost makes us like friends. This I
know, right?
Yeah, the beauty of connecting.
I think she went to New Media Summit, actually. She's been at New Media Summit, so yeah.
Very cool.
Very cool there.
We spoke.
So when's the class that you're the book or the workbook or the thing that you're working on coming out?
My anticipated date's the end of the month, end of October. So I will be posting and sharing and doing all sorts of things with it, and really excited to see where it goes. Although I've been told I have to write a book to go with it. I don't know if I want to write another book, but
do the video series and then transcribe it and your book is written.
They're perfect. Yes, there's always an easier way, right?
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. Good stuff. What's the best way for people to reach out to you, Allison?
Email Allison with one L at dominothinking.com. I answer all of my emails. Sometimes it takes me a while, as some people can attest to, but that is definitely the best way of getting a hold of me. If you prefer Facebook, you can do that
too. Good stuff out there. Yeah. Definitely great stuff out there. Love your show. Once again, everybody, go out, download, listen to the episodes of Think Opposite. Trust me, you get in a couple episodes, it'll definitely have you thinking, well, I never thought of it that way. It's exactly what Allison's looking for, right?
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Allison. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Shot of tequila with me. You know what? I do have a bottle of Trace Generations in here. I should be doing it.
My God, let's do it.
I got to be careful that 30 shots, I won't be a very good host later on this.
Oh, but it'll be fun.
It'll be a lot more fun. No, this has been great. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to your continued success. We'll see you around, all righty?
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. That is, do that. And our next guest.